Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to San Benito High School's UC CSU Information Night. My name is Andy Prisco. I'm a counselor here at San Benito High School. Also with me is my colleague Lorena Fernandez. She's also a counselor. Before I introduce our special guest presenters, I wanted to provide you with some information about some upcoming events. Okay, so on Thursday, September 30th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we're going to be having our San Benito High School Financial Aid Night. That will be a Zoom event. The Zoom link can be found on our website, on our homepage. That's a very important night. It gives us an overview of financial aid, talks about Cal Grant, the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So we really encourage all seniors and their parents to tune into that. Then on Thursday, October 7th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we have our Cash for College night. That is also going to be a Zoom event, and that is put on in coordination with CalSoap and Gavilan College. And that is where students and parents can actually get help completing and submitting their FAFSA through Zoom, which is really helpful. Then we have, there are several virtual college fairs that you can register for, and the web address is there at the bottom. And there are over 67 different public and private universities in California that are represented at each of these sessions. This is through the CaliforniaCollegeFairs.org website. So we encourage you to go to that website and register. It is free, and there are just tons of four-year colleges and universities to check out. You can interact with college admission counselors, you can listen to presentations, you can hop from one to the other, and so on and so forth. So that's a really valuable resource as our seniors are making their lists and deciding where they want to apply. And then starting October 1st, which is just right around the corner, San Benito High School counselors will be available to assist our seniors with university applications. We've already met with all of our seniors through our hay baler support time. And so we will also be meeting with them one more time to get them signed up because each counselor will be spending one day a week in the months of October and November in the Career Center, helping students with college applications. Now, if a student wants an individual appointment, all they have to do is reach out to their counselor via email. That would probably be the best way to do it, okay? So we hope that you all can join us for some of those events. The information that you're gonna get from those events is really valuable and make things a lot easier. Okay, so tonight I have the pleasure of introducing two awesome presenters. We have Purvi Shah. She is an admissions counselor from CSU Monterey Bay. She's going to be talking about CSU Monterey Bay, but she will also be talking about the CSU system in general. And we have Joseph DePage. He is a senior admissions evaluator and counselor at University of California, Santa Cruz. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with Purvi, and Purvi is going to do a presentation about CSU Monterey Bay. And then we'll have a question and answer period. And then we'll move on to Joseph. And then we'll do a final question and answer period. Okay. So I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Purvi.
Thanks, Mr. Prisco. Hi, everyone. My name is Purvi Shah, and I'm one of the admissions counselors at Monterey Bay. You all probably might have seen me around, maybe pre-pandemic, maybe not. I'm not too sure, but I am the admissions counselor that works with San Benito High. So if you ever have any questions, all of the counselors at San Benito High do have my information, so they'll direct you all my way. And yeah, let's get started with the presentation. Before I get started, while I'm sharing, in the process of sharing my screen, I also want to introduce one of my colleagues, Bianca Salinas, and she will introduce herself, who she is, and how she is works with CSUMB, and how she can also help you all out as well.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Like Purvi said, my name is Bianca Salinas, and I am one of the advisors and recruitment specialists for CAMP, the College Assistance Migrant Program at CSUMB. But I will also be providing information about the support programs on campus. And so as Purvi is going through the presentation, I'll talk a little bit more about what that is. But it is a pleasure to be here with you tonight. And if you have any questions about CSUMB, I'll also be helping in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Bianca. All right, let's get started, everyone. So while talking about Monterey Bay, I will also be talking about the CSU system as a whole. So I'll be pointing out where all 23 campuses are located. So the furthest up north is Humboldt, and the furthest down south is San Diego. And all of the other CSUs are spread out throughout California. The Golden Star is where Monterey Bay is located. So I know you all know where Monterey Bay is located, but I had to point that out anyways. And, you know, just to show you where we are in the span of the other 22 campuses. Now, one of the largest campuses would have to be CSU Fullerton, and the smallest campus would have to be Cal State Maritime. Now, I do want to mention, and the one piece of advice that I give all my seniors that I talk to, you don't only want to look at the university that has the major that you want, but you also want to look at the location around the area, because you're not only going to be attending classes, you're also going to want to explore the area around you. Now, if there's a university that has your major, but you're not, you know, too fond of the area, you're not going to enjoy your college experience while you're trying to get your degree. And you want to have both. You want to enjoy that degree and also enjoy the area that you're in. So think about a few things. Does the campus not only have your major, but are you loving the area? If you're a beach person, you're going to want to stay along the coast. If you love the hot weather, you're going to want to go in the Central Valley area or Southern California area. If you are very fond of the nature and you love the outdoors, you want to explore and all of the above, then you want to go more up north where you know there's going to be hiking trails, biking trails, all of those sort. Hopefully you also keep Monterey Bay in mind, because we do have a lot of hiking trails, biking trails, and all of the above. I will talk more about Monterey Bay, but that's the one piece of advice I want to leave with you today. So here's a quick video about Monterey Bay. right, so that was a quick video about Monterey Bay. I know you all know where Monterey Bay is located, what the campus is like if you visited, but for those of you who haven't visited in a while or haven't visited at all, that is giving you an insight of what campus life is like, what students do on campus and off campus. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Bianca and I are here to help you out. If there are any questions that come through the chat, Bianca will also read them out loud to me, and both of us can work on answering those questions for you. So please do not hesitate to put any questions into the chat. Now, the list of majors that you see here in front of you are the list of majors that we have at Monterey Bay. We have 25 different majors to offer to our students. The ones that are highlighted in blue are our popular majors. So psychology, biology, business administration, computer science, kinesiology, as well as marine science are our popular majors. The one that is italicized, which is agricultural, plant, and soil sciences, is one of our newest majors and the newest addition to the list of majors that we have. And we're so excited to have that major on our campus. We are the 5th CSU university to actually have the agriculture, plant, and soil sciences offered on our campus. Now, I know statistics is also italicized as well, and that is one of our newer majors, but not the newest. But we still like to highlight it being one of our newer majors. So you all are wondering, how do students get involved on campus? Bianca and I are both alumni of CSUMB. We've been involved in various different ways. The list goes on and on, so we're not going to bore you. That's a conversation for another day. But I do want to let you know that we do have 13 men and women sports teams, and we're NCAA Division II. So you are able to compete nationally within the 13 men and women sports teams that we have. If you don't want to compete nationally, we also have intramural sports as well as sports clubs that students are able to also get involved in. We do have a student government on our campus, which they're known as Associated Students. For high school, they'd be known as ASB. And they put on all the dances, concerts, movie nights, ice cream socials, and the list goes on and on. But those are just a few events that they put on for our students. With us being currently hybrid, we do have in-person events as well as virtual events that we are offering for our students to come out and get connected with one another. We do have a study abroad option, which I'm going to tap onto Bianca in just a tiny bit, and she will let you know her experience about studying abroad. But you are able to study abroad for either the semester or for the whole year, and we do have a list of countries that you're able to pick from. We also do have roughly over 75 different clubs and organizations that we offer for students as well. And if there's a particular club that you want on our campus and you don't see it, you can start it. It's so easy to start a club on our campus. With us being so new, you're still able to leave a footprint at CSUMB. I definitely left one, Bianca left one, and so can you. I will talk more about my experience in just a little bit, but go ahead, Bianca.
Yeah, so one of the awesome things about CSUMB and just any other CSU is getting involved. So no matter if you're a student commuting or you decide to live on campus, the best way to feel a part of the university is to do fun things that the university offers. So one of the things that changed my whole life was studying abroad. So I went abroad for a whole year in Spain, and it was one of the most amazing experiences ever. And up to today, I still have pictures, and I talk to my students about the great opportunities that it brought to me. But aside from that, I was also part of a sorority on campus and part of clubs. And I didn't do any sports. I'm not the sporty type, but I did go support the sports at CSUMB. So getting involved is beautiful, and I suggest you do that wherever you go. I know all of the CSUs, most of the CSUs, I believe, offer study abroad options, so take advantage of that. And then I don't know, Purvi, if you want to talk about yourself, or should I go over to the next slide?
Okay, I'll mention one thing and then we'll go on to the next slide. I actually was one of the founding members of the Asian Pacific Islander Association at CSUMB. And now that I'm a staff member, I'm actually the advisor for the club. So it's nice to see it come in a full circle, and the club has grown immensely since the time that I was a student to the time now that I'm a staff member. So that's just a little bit about me. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we'll continue on with the presentation.
Yes. So many of the awesome things that CSUMB offers, and a lot of the programs or the universities that you're gonna hear about offer, are student support programs. We want you to know that there are people who will help you every step of the way, because feel free to put in the chat if you're a first generation student, but Purvi and I are both first generation students. And so this can be really, really scary. And in order to make it easier for you all, we try to provide as much as we can, resources, programs. And so that's why I'm here. So I am in particular part of CAMP, the College Assistant Migrant Program. My program works with students who come from a migrant background. What that means is that your parents work in the fields. Either they have when you were little, you might not even remember, or they work in the fields now. And you have to be a resident or a U.S. citizen. And I'm gonna put in the chat a link to a flyer. So if you're interested in knowing more about CAMP and connecting with me one-on-one, you can scan this code on the flyer, and it will send me a notification that you want to talk to me, and I can get connected. But let's say that you're not a migrant student, that's okay. I myself, I was not a part of CAMP at CSUMB, but I was a part of EOP, and EOP is much like CAMP. But they work with all of students that are first generation and low income. And so that's nothing to be ashamed of. We are paving the way for ourselves and the people who are coming after us and our parents. CAMP is a smaller program. EOP is a much bigger program, and the EOP application is actually part of your CSU application. So you can find all of that there. It is phenomenal. Two of the amazing things that these programs do is that they give you a grant. And I hope all of you, if you don't know what a grant is, that is free money that goes to you. And they also provide a lot of phenomenal things like kayaking, camping, ziplining, anything you can think of, it is always free. If EOP CAMP are not for you, we do have Guardian Scholars, and they are a program that works with foster youth. So that's an option for you. We also have TRIO, and TRIO is for students who are first generation or low income or have a disability. So again, they provide phenomenal support to students. If you are an undocumented student, we do have Undocu Success on campus. Again, phenomenal. And at the very end of the list, we do have the Veteran Resource Center. All of these student support programs, our goal is to push you, provide resources for you and get you connected to the right people that can help. For example, tutoring with the CLC. If you are experiencing something at home, or even if you ever want to just talk to a therapist, a counselor, whatever the case may be, we help you and we get you connected to the Personal Growth and Counseling Center, the PGCC. And if you're a student with disabilities and you need accommodations, we help you with the Student Disability Resource Center. Again, so many amazing opportunities that we provide for you. Just get connected. And if you want to know about any of the other programs in more detail, I'm going to put my email in the chat. Feel free to connect with me, and I can always connect with you individually.
Awesome. Thanks, Bianca. All right, so for housing, we are considered a residential campus, and we do offer housing for all years that you attend Monterey Bay. You all are probably wondering, I'm a local student, why do I need housing? We still offer housing for our local students as well. So definitely just wanted to mention that. If you do live on campus all years that you attend Monterey Bay, we do have a rate lock system that we offer to students. How are we doing with the questions in the chat? Are we good, Bianca? Just wanted to check in.
Yes, we're good. We're good. We haven't had any questions so far.
Okay. I do want to highly recommend and encourage for students and parents to put questions into the chat if you do have it. All right. So for financial aid, 72% of our students do receive some type of financial aid. And applications for FAFSA open up when applications for CSU applications open up, which is October 1st. The deadline for FAFSA is to submit it by March 2nd, but we do not want you to wait until March 2nd. As soon as your college applications are in, we want you to submit your FAFSA applications as well. That way you get that out of the way, and your universities that you applied to get your information and already are working on putting together a package for you. That way, once you get your admitted letter, you also get that financial aid package as well. That way you are able to decide on which university you're wanting to attend. For CSUMB, we do offer over 60 different scholarships to our students, ranging from $600 to about $10,000 per year. We do offer various different scholarships, not only through our support programs, but campus-wide as well. And each of our majors offer specific scholarships to students too. I do want to highlight, being a local student, San Benito is a local area for us. So again, being a local student, there are a few selected scholarships for local students as well. So definitely fill out the scholarship application for those. I know that a lot of students in the local area are not aware about the local scholarship. So definitely take a look into it. Tap into your counselors at San Benito. If they, you can tap into Bianca and I as well, and we'll be able to provide you that information. All right, so you all are in your senior year. You probably heard about the A through G requirements so much that you all are probably tired of hearing about it. Just hang in there a little bit longer. Applications are opening up soon, but we all want to remind you that A through G requirements are highly necessary to fulfill with a C grade or better. If you have any Ds or Fs, you still have some time to retake those classes and get a C grade or better, because Ds or Fs are considered passing, or sorry, not passing. They are considered not passing. Sorry, it's been a little bit of a long day. All right, so for first-time freshmen, for fall 22, which means you all are going to be applying for fall 22, we are not requiring SATs or ACT test scores. I repeat, we are not requiring SAT or ACT test scores, which means we are going to be using a multi-factor admissions criteria. Because you all are local students, impaction does not apply to you, which the list of majors here are impacted, but they don't apply to you. As long as you meet our minimum requirements, you will be admitted into the university and the program. So for students who have a GPA of a 2.5 or above, you do need to meet the A through G coursework, which is you passing with a C grade or better. Ds or Fs are not passing. And for our impacted majors, which again doesn't apply to you, but I'm still going to point it out anyways, and highly encourage you to have a GPA of a 2.5 or above. And we also look at A through G coursework, as well as if you're first generation, low income, and all of this information is submitted on the application. So we go based off of your application and if you have any extra A through G coursework. So for instance, for math, you need to have 3 years of math. If you have that 4th year, that would be considered an extra A through G coursework. Now, if your GPA falls between a 2.0 to a 2.499, not only do we look at your A through G coursework, but we look at a few other things as well. So if you're from the local service area, which you all are considered local service area, first generation, if you're low income, and again, A through G coursework.
Purvi,
I have a question, Purvi. Oh,
sorry, whoever was first.
I just wanted to ask, someone asked in the chat, so just to be clear, SAT and ACT scores are not being used to determine admission, right?
Correct.
They're not being considered at all.
No.
Now, are they being used for placement purposes?
Yes. So if they have taken them, they're more than welcome to submit the scores. Again, it's not used for admissions, but it will be helpful in the math and English placement for college level courses.
And then we had a question about, what does impaction mean? What is an impacted major?
Yeah, so impaction means that it is competitive to get into. So there are more students applying for the major than the major has room for. Let me give you an example. If we all are going on a field trip, there's 100 students that want to go on this field trip, but the bus only holds about 60 students. So that means that 40 students will not be able to go on that field trip. hopefully that example helps out and you all understand impaction a little more. Let me know if you need another example and I could think of another example. Are there any other questions?
Yes, so we have one. Is the SAT and ACT not required for all CSUs?
Correct. For all CSUs, it is not required.
Okay, and then one more question. Is there any consideration for Ds in distance learning?
I feel like that's a conversation we need to continue to have. And so Bianca, if you want to put my email with your email in there, that way they can contact us. That will we can have set up some time and have a further conversation with that one. Mr. Prisco, was there anything else?
So regarding, I think what the question there is, if a student was in distance learning during high school.
Right.
And received a D.
I think I would need to see the transcript just to have a more in-depth look, because if that D was a part of the A through G course like requirement, then that is something that they'll potentially have to make up. But if they've already met the A through G requirements, and if it's for another course or just another extra class that they're taking, then that's something that would potentially be okay. But I would want to review the transcript before I gave a definite answer.
Okay. And I would encourage that parent or the student who asked that question to reach out to their San Benito High School counselor so that we can review that transcript with them as well.
Yeah.
Did you guys want to continue with your presentation and we can take questions at the end, or?
Yeah, we can continue.
Okay.
All right, so for students who are wanting to transfer into the university, you do need 60 transferable units, and that is semester units. If you're trying to transfer into CSUMB with quarter units, then it's 90 quarter units or more, with a minimum GPA of a 2.0, and we do have a few other requirements that for transfer students that they need to meet. All right. So I do want you all to take out your pen and papers. Make sure you make a note of this, put it in bold, highlight it, circle it, all of the above. This is the one new thing about the CSUs this year that I need you all to note and jot down. Applications open up for everybody on October 1st, but the closing date for the applications are going to be all different. So I will be providing some information into the chat as soon as I'm done presenting. But for CSUMB, applications close December 15th. Any impacted majors at CSUMB, their applications will close November 30th. So I know I said that local students impaction doesn't apply, but because impaction applies to ATA area students, those applications will be closing November 30th. So if you're applying to any of the impacted majors as a local student, we want to make sure we get your applications in by November 30th. But all of the non-impacted majors, those applications will be closing December 15th. All CSUs will have different deadlines of their applications closing. I will be providing links into the chat, so definitely note down the link and all of the other information. Now, it is $70 per application. If you do get a fee waiver, you get to apply to 4 CSUs with 1 fee waiver. Mr. Persco, was there a question? I saw you come on video. Just wanted to make sure.
It's okay. I think we'll wait till you're done.
Okay. Just 1 or 2 more slides and we're about to be done. All right, so why choose CSUMB? I'm just something that we mentioned to everybody, but we are known as the CSU with an ocean view. The beach is just a mile away from campus. For all of you local students, I do want to reiterate that the beach is a walking distance. For anyone who has their mic unmuted, can you please mute yourselves? Sorry. Thank you, I appreciate it. Again, we're considered a residential campus. We are one of the 3rd most affordable CSUs. Small class sizes, our class student to professor ratio is about 27:1. So the professors get to know you really well on name basis and not student number basis or anything like that. And we do have unique majors that are geared towards the current economy. So that was it for the presentation. The QR code leads you to our our request for more information's page. And so once you fill it out and you submit that form, you will get more information, not only about the majors, but the different events that we are going to be holding through our admissions office and other campus events and things like that. So thank you all for your time, and we can get to the Q&A.
Okay. So there's a question. If you are undeclared, in other words, if you go in as an undeclared major, does that make it harder or easier to get into the CSU campuses?
So for CSUMB, we're your local campus, so I can let you know you are able to change majors really easily. You just have to talk to your academic advisor, and they would be the ones to help you out in switching your major. For other CSUs, it's a little different, so it depends on what CSU you're applying to. If it's a smaller campus, it might be a little easier to switch majors, and if it's a bigger campus, it might be a little bit difficult, but I do want to let you know that if you have any sort of idea on what major you want to apply to, stick with that major. Don't go with undeclared, because undeclared is impacted at other CSUs as well. Surprisingly, I know, but I do want to encourage you to, if undeclared is the way you want to go, perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. But if you even have the slightest hunch that you want to go towards one major, apply to that major, because then you can also switch majors as well if that's not the pathway you want to go on.
Okay, so our next question is, will getting good grades during quarantine impress you a bit more? What do you personally think? The same, less?
That's a very great question. I actually haven't had that question during quarantine, but let's just say it does make your application look a little bit better, because a lot of the CSUs, or I should say majority of the CSUs, are looking at academics first before they look at extracurricular. So getting those good grades, even if it's in honors courses or AP courses, because you do get up to 8 extra points on your application if you have any AP classes or honors courses that you got a good grade on.
Okay. The next question is, so if your child has any D grades during 10th and 11th grade, they have to repeat all those, retake those classes?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to talk about validation rules at all?
I feel like that gets a little sticky, so I'm gonna have you cover those.
Okay. So all I would say is, if you to our seniors or to parents, if you're concerned about a D on a transcript during the 10th and 11th grade year, please reach out to your student's San Benito High School counselor so that we could discuss that. When we met with seniors during Hay Baylor support time, we gave out copies of their transcripts. So all seniors should have transcripts. And like when I handed out mine, I made notes on the transcript if they needed to retake something, that they needed to contact me.
Okay.
Let's see. Do all CSU and UCs look at students' eligibility through this system too? So I think we're talking about, these are two different public university systems.
Yes.
And Purvi, you're representing California State University. Joe, who's with us, he's going to be talking about the University of California system next. They're two different public systems, and in most states in our country, there's two public systems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. What is the CEEB code?
So the CEEB code is the school code that is given through, you can find your high school counselors, so your San Benito counselors will be able to help you with the CEEB code.
Yeah, I can put that in the chat right now, what San Benito High School's code is. That's an easy one. Okay. Each public high school has a distinct CEEB code. Okay. All right. I think that's the end of, let's see, what is it? Let's see. something about a D in the first semester and a B in the second semester. So I think someone's asking about validation.
Yeah, that's a
I
validation question.
would ask that person to reach out to their counselor to discuss that. Okay, we don't have any more questions in the chat. However, if any of you would like to unmute yourself and ask a question, to Purvi or Bianca, now would be a good time for that. Or you can use the chat.
I think someone said I do. I think that's Denise. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correct. Denise, if you can hear me, feel free to unmute yourself. Oh.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions here. Which one is more affordable, is CSU or UC?
So
I have a question.
Okay, give us just a second. There was a question. So CSU's UCs, we are both a public university system. It's just one is University of California, the other one is California State University. Each offer their own particular programs, and they're very focused within the different areas that they're located throughout California. All of us offer various different aid. So financial aid from the various different campuses. When you apply to FAFSA, you get all of this package information already. And then on top of that, each university has their own set of scholarships that you can apply for that you're able to get as well. So I know that seems like a political response or a blanketed response, but I'm going to leave the rest up to you all. So it's something for you all to decide. The reason I can't say anything else beyond that is because I graduated from a CSU, and more insight about me, my brother graduated from a UC. So I have love for both systems and I will never tell you to pick one or the other. We'll lay out all your options and we want you to pick. Yes, go ahead, Denise.
So it's just the question that I posted on the chat, which is if your child has a high GPA or a good GPA and not as much extracurriculars for the Cal States, how does that play? I mean, how does that look for you guys?
That will actually be, it depends. Not all CSUs will look at extracurriculars. It depends on which CSUs you're applying to. So the heavily impacted schools will have those extra requirements, and the ones that are not as impacted won't have those extra requirements. So like having a really high GPA or a good GPA is very beneficial for the student's application.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming, but I was wondering, are they going to look at the grades over the curriculars in the state schools? So, okay.
Purvi, can I ask a question along with Denise? And that is, on the actual CSU application, in the past, there really hasn't been a place to talk about extracurriculars, except for maybe Cal Poly.
That's the one I was referring to.
Okay, so has that changed? Is there on the application this year, is there a place where students would identify their extracurriculars?
No, it hasn't changed, but I know that some schools you're able to input it in the like the program material portion, which is like the quadrant 4, I believe. And so I know that's where Cal Poly asked the question. Cal Poly is the one that I was referring to. I know other CSUs haven't requested for it. So.
Okay, so with Cal Poly, let's say, if he has a good GPA, they also want him to have curriculars.
You list out the ones that you've been involved in.
Well, they ask some supplemental questions on the Cal Poly application that other CSUs don't. As far as how that's weighted, I would say that the academics is still
more important.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
That would be my answer anyway. We have a lot of students that are interested in nursing at the CSUs, and we have a question about how does it work in the nursing programs in terms of prerequisites and all that.
Yeah, so every nursing program is different for every CSU. For CSUMB in particular, we don't accept first-time freshmen into our nursing program. We only accept transfer students into our nursing program. So you have to look at the different requirements for the different CSUs, and nursing programs are impacted, not just statewide, but nationwide as well.
Okay, and then we have a question about how do students qualify for a fee waiver? I'm assuming we're talking about for the CSU application.
Yeah, so there is a bracket that, which I don't know of the bracket either, but you put in that the financial information into the application, and that the application will let you know whether you're applicable for the fee waiver or not.
Yeah, so it's all built into the application, the fee waiver part. Okay. And we will be providing a link to this slideshow. It is being recorded. Someone asked about that. We will put it on our San Benito High School website as soon as we can. Does anybody else have a question that maybe we missed in the chat or that you would like to ask?
Oh, there's one question that I'm reading here. Do scholarship applications for the university open up when applications open up? So the scholarship applications actually open up a little bit later, and that information is on each and every university's website. Oh, somebody put in the information about the UC and CSU difference. Thank you for that. I know there's some questions that got direct message to me, so I will make sure I respond to them directly. And I don't see any other ones. Let me know if I missed anything else. I do want to make sure Joe has the opportunity to go next as well.
Okay, well, thank you, Purvi, and thank you, Bianca. Hope you guys can stick around, but if you've got something else going on, we understand. Appreciate it very much. We're going to switch gears over to Joe. Joe, are you able to share?
Let me see. Yes, I am. I will be sharing my screen.
All right.
In a moment. So hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for having me here today. I know how much Zoom has been on over the last 2 years, so I'm very appreciative that everyone is still here and paying attention. My name is Joe. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a senior admissions evaluator at UC Santa Cruz. That means I'm one of the people who actually read the applications. Over the last 5 years, I have read something like 8,000 apps, and so I very much love seeing who the people are of California, what values we have, what curiosity and drive our students show. It's always very exciting and inspiring to read the applications. I'm also a proud alumnus of UC Santa Cruz. I attended UCSC back in a prehistoric time called the 1990s. And so I'm likewise excited to talk about a place whose values and whose natural beauty continue to move me and keep me inspired. I think I'll be presenting here for about 15, 20 minutes, and then I will be happy to answer any questions that come and follow. So before I talk about UC Santa Cruz in particular, I do want to talk about the University of California. We are one of 9 undergraduate campuses in the University of California system. And so with our sister schools, we share the traditions, the goals, and the advantages of being a member of the most world-renowned, most world-famous public university research system. Our mission as the University of California is threefold. We do 3 things. First, obviously, we teach. Across our 9 campuses, we have 700 majors and a faculty that is devoted to working directly with students to help them to learn their fields and prepare for a career. Next, we do conduct research. So we are funded and empowered by the state of California to do research on behalf of the people of California. So whether that is a new invention by our engineers, a new art production by our artists, by scientists exploring things in their labs, or social scientists with their field studies, our faculty are not just people who teach things that have already been taught. They're the ones who are pioneering new systems, figuring out new things, and inviting our students to be with them on that journey. We will give students the opportunity to learn how to do research on their own. And so they can learn not just what to think, but how to think and how to think critically. And then we do both of these. We teach and we conduct research for the good of the public. We have a mission of public service. And so we believe that our educational system, the University of California, benefits not just our students, not just our campuses, but California and the entire world. Around the world, people know what the UC means. They know that the University of California is a place known for innovation and collaboration. So we have, across our 9 schools, we have 64 Nobel Prize laureates and 38 Pulitzer Prize winners. And so no matter where you study in the UC, whether you go to Berkeley, Santa Cruz, Merced, San Diego, no matter where you go, students have access to a rich tradition of academic excellence. Now, I sometimes hear this idea that somehow our research is theoretical, that it's not very practical or has no real impact on the world. But at the UC, our research, which is really about problem solving and teaching our students how to problem solve, has led to over 12,000 active inventions that work to improve such practical areas as healthcare, education, agriculture, transportation, technology, and the environment. But we also pride ourselves on our ability to bring students into the workforce. And so 5 years after graduation, our students per average make $10,000 more a year compared to graduates of other four-year California schools. Over 90% of our low-income students exceed their parents' income in those 5 years. So I'm going to move now to talk about UC Santa Cruz. So most of you have probably been to Santa Cruz, you've been to our beaches, to our boardwalk, you know where we are. So I don't need to go too much about this, but I do want to point out that we are the UC that is closest to Silicon Valley. And so we are known very much for being the UC of Silicon Valley. And on the screen, you can see many of the tech companies. These are the companies that come to our campus to host our events, to host workshops, and to recruit our students. And our top employers tend to be companies from the 408. I do want to say, though, if you haven't been to our campus itself, it is a beautiful, stunning place to be. UC Santa Cruz is a 2,000-acre redwood forest. And so no matter where you are on campus, you come out of a building, you come out of a dorm, you come out of a classroom, you'll walk through beautiful redwood cathedrals, you will see deer every day. It is just a beautiful place to be. We're likewise about 2 miles from the ocean, so you can't quite walk there as easily as you can from CSU to the beach, but we're still pretty close. And if you do want to study something like marine biology or oceanography, then your labs will be the Pacific Ocean itself, or we have a coastal campus with our biology and oceanography classes on the Monterey Bay. And so I just point out again that we are known for being one of the top universities most likely to land you a job in Silicon Valley. And here are some of our top employers, places like Facebook, Apple, Google, and so on and so forth. Here's some numbers about UC Santa Cruz. So the average GPA 2 years ago, and it's about comparable for this last year as well, it's a 3.91. That's not a target to aim for, but that just gives you a sense as to where student body is. We admit students have both above and below this weighted GPA. In 2020, we admitted about 2/3 of our Frost applicants. Last year, we admitted about half of our Frost applicants. And it's more traditional to where we admit students. We have a good student to faculty ratio, and you can see that most of our classes are 50 students or fewer. And I think the stat is 51% are 30 students or fewer. And so while certainly you're going to have to, your freshman year or your sophomore year, take some really big lecture classes, the reality is that once you start working in your department, it's going to be a really intimate experience working with our faculty. UC Santa Cruz is home to 69 majors and 14 minors. So whatever you want to study, we either offer it or something very close to it. Everything we offer is a world-class program. We are the University of California. But some of our more popular majors include computer science, computer engineering, video game design, which is one of our top 10 programs around the world is our video game design majors. We have 2 of them. We have a great literature program if you want to study English or comparative lit, a top 10 ranked film and digital media program, psychology, which is our second biggest major, then marine biology, as well as human bio, which is our pre-med program. But because our faculty are always doing new things, we always have new programs offered every year. And so some of the newer majors we have on campus include applied math, our biotechnology BA to correspond with our biotech BS, our education major named Democracy, Education, and Justice. And then our very pertinent for this time in American history, we're proud to offer a Black Studies minor. That is offered by our Critical Race and Ethnic Studies department, which is our fastest growing major on campus. You may be wondering though at this point, what if I don't know what I want to study? In most cases, that is totally okay. So in all but 2 cases, students are admitted into a proposed major or they come in undeclared. And so they have 2 full years to explore different fields, find the best fit for the student, and then declare a major. So there's lots of time, lots of chance to really see what is out there and to find the best fit for you. There are 2 exceptions. Computer science and computer engineering are impacted majors. So this means that if you want to do computer science or computer engineering, you need to list them on your application. And then 2, when I read your application, I'm seeing that you're applying for these majors, and I will review you as a major, a comp sci or a comp engineering major. So know that you'll be held to a higher standing. With that said, any other major from physics to philosophy, you have 2 years to play around with. I also want to point out that UC Santa Cruz champions what is called an interdisciplinary approach to academic study. That's a fancy way to say that not only do we have traditional majors, things like chemistry or history, we also create new programs by combining different fields of study. So the classic example of this would be environmental studies, which we were a pioneer of this back in the 1970s. It combines both natural sciences with social sciences to study humanity's impact on the environment. But a more recent example would be a unique major we have called Art and Design, Games and Playable Media. This is a video game design major for artists, and it blends creativity, technology, and personal expression. And it culminates in a senior project where our students build video games alongside our BS students, our computer science majors. And so this is an example of the way that we can combine art and engineering, and it provides a great portfolio for anyone looking to do development in the computer world. Another thing that makes UC Santa Cruz unique is that we have what is called the residential college model. So in most American universities, when you walk on campus, you'll see that there's one part of the campus that's devoted to dorms, another part of the classrooms, and then yet another area that's the support buildings and the administrative buildings. And the 3 really don't have anything to do with each other. The faculty don't really talk to the residential staff, and everything's very siloed. But at UC Santa Cruz, these are the same thing. They're the same location. And we do that by having what are called residential colleges. They're modeled after what you find at Oxford and Cambridge. And if you've read or seen Harry Potter, then it's similar to the 4 houses at Hogwarts. So UC Santa Cruz has these 10 colleges. In each of them, they have dorms. So our frosts aren't in one giant, huge 4,000 person building. They're devoted in these 10 little clusters. So each college has dorms. They have classrooms where our frost will take the required core course, which is different college by college. So there is an academic component for each college. And then there's the academic staff support staff who work at and even live at the college as well. So it's a way to feel that you live in a small liberal arts college or a small cozy little neighborhood within this big, large public school. Each of the 10 colleges have their own themes. They're open to students of any major, but they all have their own themes. So for example, if you're concerned about the environment or sustainability, then Rachel Carson, that is their theme. And so students, no matter what they study, would have that particular emphasis in their personal lives and possibly their research. If you look in the top right corner, you see Porter College and the hipsters playing guitar. Porter is known for having this desire to have personal expression and personal creativity. And so again, no matter what your major is, if you really have about creativity, that would be a home for you at UC Santa Cruz. On our campus, the colleges are really the social and the activity and the cultural hubs of UC Santa Cruz. I know that one of the questions in the chat earlier was about the expense of college. So I want to say that UC Santa Cruz has a philosophy that education should be as affordable as possible and as open as possible by forming a partnership between the student, the family, and our campus. And so 80% of our students receive financial aid. And last year we gave out over $320 million in aid to our student body. One thing I wish we spoke about more is what we call the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan. Basically, if your family household income is $80,000 or less, it is free to attend a UC campus. The tuition and the fees are covered by us. So again, if you make $80,000 or less, your students still have to pay for housing, books, personal expenses, but the tuitions and fees are covered by us. In addition to that, if you make beyond that amount, there are still financial aid and scholarships available. UC scholarships are on the UC application. So when your student fills out the UC application, there'll be a page that will list hundreds of possible scholarships. You should take your time, look at those, and check every one for which your student may qualify, and then we will do the legwork to see if your student does indeed qualify for that scholarship. And then finally, I want to point out that we are at the end of September, so in about a week, the FAFSA and the California Dream Act application open up. And I always recommend filling this out sooner than later, and I believe Purvi said the same thing about Monterey Bay. Generally speaking, the earlier you fill out the FAFSA or the Dream Act application, the more money there is for you. So it certainly behooves you to fill this out sooner than later. Moving on to UC minimum requirements. Like the CSUs, we are test free, so we do not require SAT or ACT tests. So you look at the screen, you will not see a requirement for a test score. If you do submit them, I will not look at them. So when I look at the app, I don't even see those numbers. Instead, the UCs have two minimum requirements. One, satisfaction of the A through G courses. These are the same classes you saw Purvi described for Monterey Bay and the CSUs. And we need to have a C or better in these courses. And then a minimum GPA of a 3.0 for students in California. I want to point out that UC Santa Cruz is a selective campus, as are all the UC campuses. That means we want students who are doing more than just the minimum. And so if you see that, for example, we say take at least 3 years of math, you'll be a much more competitive applicant if you take a 4th year of math. Likewise, if we tell you to take at least 2 years of science or 2 years of a second language, you'll be a much stronger applicant. If you have a 3rd or 4th year of science, a 3rd or 4th year of second language, and so on and so forth. In the same way, the average GPA for a UC Santa Cruz student last year is a 3.9. Again, that's not a target to aim for, but just know we're not looking for students who are doing just the bare minimum, hitting that 3.0. We're looking for students who challenge themselves and who can bring something to a UC campus. I don't really have time too much to talk about transferring to the UCs, but I do want to point out that the University of California is very transfer friendly. We do offer permission to certain transfers coming from California community colleges. And so if you think you want to first study at Gavilan, Hartnell, Monterey Peninsula College, or Cabrillo, that is a very good option to transfer to UC Santa Cruz or the other UCs. And we do have agreements with the California community colleges to determine what classes you should take there to be admitted and to be ready for your majors with us. Now, when I look at your application, there are 13 things I'm allowed to look at. So these are the 13 criteria that apply to all 9 UC campuses. And so you can see GPA is certainly one of them, but it's one of 13 things that we look at. You'll see when you look at these that about half are academic, about half are non-academic. And so I'm going to be looking to see how many honors classes a student took. I'm gonna be looking to see how well they performed in certain subject areas, really math and science, math and English. But I'm looking at other things as well about the student. So when I asked about extracurriculars in the chat, super important for the UCs. So I'm looking to see your students' special projects, whether it be in school or outside of school. I'm looking for talents, I'm looking for achievements and awards. I'm even looking at geographic location because we're looking to enroll a diverse student body that reflects the people of California. All this is to give me context. Because the big question I get asked is, I have this GPA, will I be competitive for a UC campus? And no UC would ever be able to say accurately yes or no, because the GPA by itself does not tell us a full story. We need to see we really are looking for the student success based around their life experiences. So we look at all of these when we look at an application. Because I'm looking for context, the personal insight questions are super, super, super important. So on the UC application, we ask 8 questions. Students will respond to 4 of these 8. No one is better than any other, so there's no secret good question to respond to, but choose the ones that give you the best chance to talk about yourself and to brag about yourself. We want to know how awesome you are. There's often some anxiety around the PIQs because they're not quantifiable. In the same way a GPA is a number, you know what a GPA is, you know how many honors classes you've taken, you know how many A through G courses you've taken, you can count those. But you can't count the response to the PIQs. So there's always a little bit of like concern, anxiety from students and their parents. So I'm going to give you a couple of quick tips about how I read them. So I read these as though they were an interview with the student. And that's how I want the student to respond to them. And so if I were to sit across from the student at a cafe, a cup of coffee, the pandemic's over, and I were to ask you, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? The student probably wouldn't respond with a poem. So this is not a creative writing assignment. Likewise, they probably wouldn't drop off a 10-page paper they wrote for AP US History. This is not an academic problem, so I'm not looking for that either. Rather, what I'm looking for is for a student to respond using clear, natural, everyday language. So I don't need big fancy words. I'm not grading you on your vocabulary. I want you to write using normal, average, everyday, clear language. So that's tip 1. Tip 2, I want the student to write about themselves. We all have awesome grandparents. By definition, grandparents are awesome people. We all have heroes. I look up to Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. I think they're powerful, great people. But Cesar Chavez is not the one applying to the UC. He's not the one sitting in the classroom or living in the dorm. So here's the chance for the student to write about themselves. And then 3, finally, and this is a good writing tip. When looking at the PIQs, have the student think about the one central hard thing they want me to know about them. And then take the time to brainstorm and write every possible detail that you can find from your life experience that would back up that central idea. What I'm looking for is extra information, more data, more facts, more about the student. I already know what their grades and their courses look like, but I want to know who they are. And this is their chance to tell me. And so finally, I want to say thank you everyone for still being here today. The University of California doesn't just want students to apply. We want them to be strong applicants. And so at any point, if there are questions between now and the time you submit, reach out to us. So we have many answers on admissions.ucsc.edu. 2, follow us on social media, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. 3, we offer many virtual events right now. We will be offering in-person tours again soon, but for right now, we're offering virtual tours of our campus. And then 3, finally, I am the rep assigned to San Benito County. So if you have questions about the application, about UC Santa Cruz or the UCs in general, students and families are free to reach out to me directly. The easiest email on campus, my email is joe@ucsc.edu. And I'll put that into the chat in a second. So again, I want to thank you everyone for being here today. And I'm going to now stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Joe. We have a couple of questions. Someone asked, are there other technology-related degrees at UC Santa Cruz, and are they also impacted?
So the first question is, we have many, being the UC of Silicon Valley, we have many tech-based majors. So our School of Engineering hosts the majors of computer science game design, computer engineering. We offer a managerial degree in technology called Tech and Info Management. We offer robotic engineering. We have all these other majors as well, biotech and what have you.
Okay, so our next question is, for transfer students, what kind of GPA is a competitive GPA or an average GPA for our transfer students?
So for transfer students, first off, the minimum to apply is a 2.4 from a California student. A guaranteed admission to UC Santa Cruz would be met with a 3.0, as long as there were some other criteria they followed. They took so many semester units from a community college, they took the right classes in their major, etc. But like the big shiny number for a transfer is a 3.0. And as much as I described that 13-point criteria to Frosh, with transfers, it's very cut and dry. It is very black and white. Basically, take the right classes, get the right GPA, and you get in. And 3.0 is the magic number there.
Next question, is housing still impacted at UC Santa Cruz?
So we all know the region, right? So I'm not going to lie and say that finding housing in Santa Cruz is easy. But we offer, when there's not a pandemic going on, we offer 2 years of guaranteed housing to our Frosh students. This year, we were able to offer housing to our incoming Frosh and incoming transfer. So every new student had housing on campus, and they moved in last week. And then all the rising sophomores, so the Frosh for last year, they also, anyone who applied, had housing. So I'm not going to lie and say housing is great in Santa Cruz County, but we offer, generally speaking, a 2-year housing guarantee to our students, and then 1 year for transfer students.
Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat feature. Folks, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can type it in the chat box.
I did receive a direct message asking about the personal insight questions, and the person wants to clarify. So does it not matter then to use strong vocabulary within the personal insight questions? That's the first question. And so I would say I'm not looking for fancy words. I'm looking for clear words. I mean, Ernest Hemingway, for example, as an English major, didn't initially use the longest words possible, but he used the best words possible to write his novels and stories. So strong vocabulary, yes, but that doesn't have to mean esoteric language. And then the next question that person asked was, do we have to write a full essay for the personal insight questions? So the answer to that is no. The response to the PIQs are at most 350 words per response. That's half a page. So combined, you're writing 2 full pages.
Okay. There's a question. Let's see. We have. As a first-year student with COVID still happening, looks like our students required to live on campus. And if I'm not asking the right question, please unmute yourself and correct me, the person that put that in the chat.
That looks to be a question for Purvi regarding the CSUs. And Purvi, do the CSUs have mandatory required housing?
So some CSUs do and some CSUs don't. Majority of them will if you're out of the area. If you're local to the school, then it is not required.
And I just want to throw in there that there's often a rumor, I have to fight this every year, that there's required housing at UC Santa Cruz, and that is not and never has been the case. But sometimes people, and most of our Frosh live on campus, and I strongly recommend they do, but it's not required to live at UC Santa Cruz.
Okay, other questions folks have?
One person, Catherine, asked about admission rates for community college transfers. and then suggest that going to a community college first and then going to UC or CSU is the most affordable. So I can't speak for the admission, and Purvi can respond for Monterey Bay, but for the UCs, I don't have the admission rate for transfers memorized, forgive me. But generally speaking, if the student were to meet our, our target GPA and courses for the year, then it's pretty black and white. And so it'd just be like a yes or a no. So the rate themselves wouldn't matter as much. And generally speaking, it often can be very affordable to go to community college first and then transfer to a four-year school. But do know that four-year schools might offer more financial aid or scholarships. So it's one of those, I can't give you a straight answer because every family's gonna have a different circumstance.
Yeah. What we usually recommend
Echo
is
Joe,
that, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead. No. I was just going to echo Joe and, say that I completely agree with him. It just depends on what your financial status looks like, what your background looks like, and what you prefer. There is aid out there for both the UCs, CSUs, as well as community colleges, but just know there is a cap on how much you're able to receive. So depending on what your background is, how you're wanting to take things, what your pathway is going to look like. After a certain amount of time of being in school after high school, there is a cap on amount of financial aid you're able to receive, whether you start in community college and go to a 4-year or you go straight into a 4-year.
As a high school counselor, I often hear some students say, I'm not going to bother applying to a 4-year university, even though I've met the A through G requirements, because I know I'm not going to be able to afford it. And so what I tell them is, it never hurts to apply to a few schools and apply for financial aid and kind of see where things fall. And then you can always go to plan B if you can't swing a university or a 4-year college, and you can always go to plan B, which is the community college route. So I really encourage students that have worked hard and have met the minimum requirements to, apply to at least one university, if nothing else, just for the experience, because as a transfer student from community college, you're going to have to do one of those applications sooner or later. So it's a good idea. Other questions out there?
I'm getting a few as direct messages. I don't know if Purvi's also getting them as direct messages. But I had one person ask, what types of experiences can we use to stand out on the PIQs? And that's such a hard question for me to answer, because every life is different, right? And so the question is what does make you different from other people? And what have you experienced that may be different? Or what might be different from what you might think I have experienced or other people reading the application? I don't live in San Benito County, so the experiences that are unique to living in Hollister or San Juan Bautista or the region is I don't know what it's like to live there. So even your experiences living in that area might be something that marks you as someone who is different than other applicants.
Okay, so we have another great question. Will senior year grades affect our applications?
At the UC, they will not in terms of being admitted, because I will not see your senior year grades. You apply in November, I'll be reading your applications sometime in probably December, January, early February. However, if you are admitted to the UC, we're going to be holding you to maintaining a strong academic, being strong academically. You'll need to pass every course you've taken your senior year. And at UC Santa Cruz, we actually expect you to maintain a GPA within a point. So if you're making a 4.0, you need to at least get get a B average throughout your senior year to maintain your admission. And so when I read your transcripts in the summer before you come in, I'll be double checking all of that.
Purvi, do you want to respond to that same question?
Yeah, so CSUs, when you apply, of course, we're not going to have your senior year grades, but you will submit what's going to be planned and what's in progress while you're submitting the application. So we'll see what classes you either have planned or in progress, and we want to make sure you push yourselves to get that C grade or better, because your senior year grades do matter. For instance, if you do, I'm not going to say that this is going to happen to you all, but in the case that it does, if you do get a D in your senior year English, at least one of the semesters, you're not considered for admissions anymore, even if you do get a conditional admissions beforehand. That admissions can be revoked. I'm not going to speak for UCs, but at least CSUs, I know that does happen quite often.
Yeah, it totally breaks my heart, but like every summer we have to rescind our offer of admissions to students. And it even breaks my heart worse when his transcript got there late and we give them a grace period and then we don't get their transcript until the end of August, and then we have to cancel someone for bad grades, and it's just so terrible.
Okay, and there was a question about, are you guys offering campus tours, live campus tours?
Yeah, so for CSUMB, I put in the link for our tours page, and we are offering in-person tours as well as live virtual tours, as well as virtual tours and self-guided tours. So we do have many options for students to have that tour experience.
Okay.
And then UC Santa Cruz, we are hiring all of our tour guides right now, this very moment. We still are only offering virtual tours, but we hope in the next month or so to be able to tour you around like these beautiful redwoods that you see right behind me.
Okay, any other questions? Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask if you'd like to.
And I just have a whole bunch of direct questions coming directly to me.
Okay, if you feel like any of those are pertinent to, repeat for the general audience, go for it.
So one person asked if we have a nursing program, what is it like and is it impacted? Unfortunately, UC Santa Cruz does not have a nursing program. And because nursing can be offered as a bachelor's degree, I would actually direct you away from UC Santa Cruz if you truly want a bachelor's in nursing sciences. The nursing schools in the UC system are Irvine and UCLA. Purvi, do you have nursing at Monterey Bay?
We do have nursing at Monterey Bay, but it is only for transfer students. So you do have to transfer in, even if it's from our local community colleges, you do have to transfer in for the program. No first-time freshmen can apply to our nursing program.
I then have a direct question for both of us.
Oh.
If a student didn't do well their junior year in high school, and it doesn't look terrible actually, around a low 3.0-ish in their 11th grade, will the student have a better chance at getting admitted to a UC or CSU if they do better in a community college and getting only A's and B's in community college? I'll let you go first because I asked it.
Thanks. Tough question. So technically, you are above the 2.0 minimum GPA being a local student, so you still have a chance to get in, at least for CSUMB. I think it might be similar for UC Santa Cruz, but I'm not too sure. I'll let Joe speak on that. For CSUMB, as long as you meet our minimum requirements, which is getting your A through G coursework done and also having that minimum GPA met, you will still have a good chance of getting into CSUMB, but I can't speak for other CSUs. Other CSUs have other requirements. If you want to have a further conversation, you can reach out to any of your San Benito counselors as well as myself at CSUMB.
So the grades the student listed were 3 A's, 1 B, and 2 C's. That's above the 3.0.
Yeah.
And that would be above the minimum for both the UC and the CSUs in terms of being eligible for admission. Mm-hmm. I would say that's not super competitive for UC Santa Cruz or the other UCs that 1 year, but that wouldn't by itself preclude a student from applying or being admitted to the UCs if they were strong in other things. There's no reason not to apply to a UC or CSU just because of one not so bad year.
I agree. And I'm also going to add, don't tell yourself no, let the university decide that for you. So apply even if you don't know. Let them give you a decision.
So there's a question.
Say that one more time. Say
Do
that one
not,
more time for the ones in the back.
do not tell yourselves no, let the university give you that decision, because you never know. There is a chance that you might be admitted. That's another thing that I do tell all my seniors that I talk to.
We do
That
have
should be like be someone that you should have like tattooed on you. That should be like on like your motto for life.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. We do have a question about weighted versus unweighted GPA. Which one do you use? How do you calculate it?
At the UCs, we use the UC GPA. That is weighted, so it's a weighted GPA. We allow up to 8 AP classes to bump up the GPA. So we have a cap at a 4.4.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I was just waiting for Joe to finish. We do use the weighted GPA.
Okay. And that's from the 10th and 11th grade college prep courses.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see, one new message. How about letters of recommendation or teacher references?
Nope.
Only if you're applying to the, sorry, Joe. Only if you're applying to the EOP program for the CSUs, then they will require recommendation letters from your teachers, counselors, whomever. That's for the CSU application EOP portion.
Yeah, that's a common question. And, you know, a lot of the private universities do require letters of recommendation as part of the admission process. I had a question. What would you say is the most common error that students make on their college applications? Or what are some pitfalls that maybe we can share?
Go ahead, Joe. I'll let you go first.
A couple things like pop to mind. I don't know if they're the most common, but they are things I see frequently. So one would be not taking the personal insight questions seriously. I sometimes, not so much in California, because we've got great guidance counselors in California, but people coming from out of state sometimes don't know what they're supposed to be doing, and they'll respond one sentence, or they'll write just kind of a vague thing over and over, or they talk about how much they want to go to a UC rather than how much, how much they can bring to a UC. So I would say, think about the PIQ, fill them out, and give us lots of details about you. Don't just write one sentence. Another thing that happens a lot is that when it comes to extracurriculars, students don't explain what they are. So they'll be like, I was a member of the BIT member of my school. And I'm like, I read thousands of applications. I don't know what the BIT club is at your school. So explain to me what your club is, what it does, but more importantly, and this is a big thing that doesn't happen a lot, tell me what you did in the club and your growth and participation in their activities. I sometimes get, I don't know if you see this, Purvi, in the CSUs, but the UCs, and I don't know how this, like why students do this, but they'll say they played baseball, and then there's a place where they can describe what the activities are, and they'll explain baseball is a team sport, played with a bat and a ball and a glove with 9 players per team. And I'm like, I know that. I know what baseball is. I'm a Giants fan. What? And like, tell me what you played, what you did on the team, the relationships, your growth. Like, tell me about what you did on the baseball team, and don't tell me it's a bat and ball game. So tell me what you did in the club, not just what the club is, but do also tell me what the club is.
Okay. We had a question about something that's COVID related. During the pandemic, high schools like ours, they, rather than using letter grades, they used we used a pass or a pass plus or a no pass. How does that impact a student's application and the admissions decision?
For CSUs, we are aware that pass, no pass, and credit, no credit, it's either still being offered or was offered. So we do take that into consideration, and we do accept those.
Same thing. Was it AB 105 that made the retroactive passes acceptable? Yeah. So that law actually says that we cannot discriminate against those P's, no pass, no pass. And so it will have neutral impact upon the application.
Okay, and just to clarify, at our school, we awarded students a P+ if they did work, that was above average or with distinction. But you guys don't recognize a P+ as any different than a P, right?
I cannot accurately answer that question. I would need to look at your transcript key or your registrar's office before I read the application just to verify. I don't know how the UC responds to a P+.
I completely agree with that. For the CSUs, we would need to look at the transcripts as well.
Okay. Okay. There was a question about another question about extracurriculars, and I think the answer to that is in general, the CSUs don't consider extracurriculars as part of the admission process, but the UCs do.
Correct.
And there's a place on the UC application to list your extracurriculars. What other questions do we have out there?
I had one.
Okay.
Denise. I wanted to know if my son took the AP classes and he passed them. If he received a 3 or didn't pass, what do the UCs, do they take? I mean, how do they look at that?
So is the question, what do we do with the AP?
He took AP, he took AP class. Let's say he took an AP class and he passed the class, but then the AP test, he got a 3. Or let's say if he got a 3 or less. I was wondering how you look at that AP. Does he still get credit for that AP or no, because he didn't pass the test?
So first off, a 3 or higher is considered passing. So a 3 or higher does grant college credit. If a score was 2 or 1, it would have no impact on the application and the way I read it. The AP tests are not required, and it is not one of the 13 criteria that we looked at an application. So if you got all 5s or all 1s, it doesn't sway that I read an application.
Okay, so you read it as the student took the most difficult classes that he could to challenge himself?
Yes.
Okay.
So I look at number of honors classes, AP classes, IE classes, college level courses if he takes something to Hartnell or Gav or something. I look at that. I love that. But actually taking the test is not something I look at.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
There was a question about which colleges of the CSU and the UC specialize in engineering.
At the UC, none of the 9 UC campuses is a polytechnic school, but all of our 9 campuses offer engineering degrees and has a polytechnic or an engineering school as part of that UC. So UC Santa Cruz, for example, we offer many majors, 69 majors across the liberal arts, but we do also offer 10 or so engineering majors as well.
For the CSUs, there are quite a few CSUs that offer various different engineering programs. It just depends on what type of engineering you're looking for. For instance, at CSUMB, we have software engineering, which is a concentration under our computer science program. So it just depends on what exactly you're looking for. If you're looking at the normal engineering programs that everybody looks for, then you'd want to look at the bigger CSUs because they will definitely have them.
And I think both the UC and the CSU have really nice search engines when it comes to looking at campuses by majors. I think the CSU one is called CSU Degrees, and the UC one is called UC Majors, right? Is that correct?
I'm double checking.
I'm going to put the link into the chat for the CSUs.
Okay, thank you. It's a really helpful way for students to identify schools by major. Are there any other questions out there? Okay. Well, I want to just extend my thanks to Purvi and Joe and Bianca for doing a fabulous job here tonight. You know, we rely on our university systems so much for updated information and to help us out with our students. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you everybody in the audience for being here. I am going to leave you guys with a screenshot of the deadlines that Purvi talked about. See if I can, oh, right there. Can you guys see that? No? Am I not? I am sharing? Okay. So this is for the 23 CSU campuses. Purvi mentioned that, you know, this year, unlike other years, different campuses have different deadlines. So for example, Monterey Bay, December 15th, but Los Angeles or Cal Poly, November 30th. Humboldt maybe later than December 15th. But we really encourage, now at the UC, it's all November 30th, right, Joe? Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah. And we really encourage students to get their application submitted sooner as opposed to later. When students wait till the last day, funky things can happen online. You know, I've seen in past years where servers have crashed or they've just, you know, the applications aren't being submitted. So please do not wait until November 30th or December 14th, or depending on what campus.
Mr. Prisco?
Yes.
Ms. Denise Okamoto, I have one more question.
Okay.
My question is, do California students have priority out of state or no? Are they equal?
At the University of California?
Yeah, so if you're out of state versus us local here in California, are they treated the same, or do we have, do you give it to a California student over and out of state, or no, that's not the case?
When it comes to the way that I read an application, the in-state versus out-of-state doesn't matter in my evaluation of the application. And when we do admit students from another state or another country, by UC policy, and I think by state law, but at least by UC policy, they have to, quote, compare favorably. So when we admit students, they have to be held to the same or very similar requirements to be admitted to the UCs.
Okay.
At UC Santa Cruz, we're about 90% in-state.
In-state, okay.
For
Thank you.
For CSUs, we definitely have in-state requirements and out-of-state requirements. That's how we differ. So if you're an in-state and applying, you have to meet the in-state requirements. If we know that you're an out-of-state student, there are out-of-state requirements that they have to meet, which is, like Joe was mentioning, it's similar, just a little different. In case for out-of-state students, the GPA requirement is a little different. A through G coursework is still the same.
Yeah, I should have said that the UCs, the minimum to apply in-state is a 3.0, but an out-of-state or out-of-country student has to have a 3.4 minimum to apply.
Any other questions out there? All right, well, thank you so much for all of you for taking the time. I'm sorry, Lorena?
I was just gonna say, put in the chat our school counseling website link. So if you look on our website, down the right side is all of your school counselors, and it has our alpha. So we're sorted by last name of our students, and it has our email and our phone number.
Thank you for reminding us of that. Yes. And thank you all for being here. Fabulous presentations, fabulous audience, great questions. Everybody take care of yourselves, and please have your seniors reach out to us if they have questions, or you can reach out to us directly if you have questions. Okay, thank you and good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Mr. Briscoe, you can click stop recording. I think.
Thanks.